Hey everyone, my name's Steve and welcome to this video on how to build a NFT minting client. We've done lots of different NFT minting tutorials over the years because IPFS plays a crucial role in making sure that your NFT content is valid and secure. But we haven't done something that's really start to finish, starting with the contract, moving all the way to a minting app, and that's what we want to do today. And so today I'm going to show you how to do several things. First, we're going to build a full smart contract using Foundry, which is one of the highest rated tools for building contracts in Solidity. And then we're going to build a client or NFT minting client that allows people to connect to the app and mint NFTs and dynamically upload any kind of content or any kind of NFT they're making to IPFS and then use that with the smart contract we've already created. And for the minting tools, we're going to be using Viem, which is arguably one of the best TypeScript libraries out there for interacting with the blockchain, Ethereum, and smart contracts. In this video, we're basically going to be following the same tutorial that we did in the blog post. So if at any point you feel like you get lost or you need to reference something, definitely check out the blog post in the description. It's going to have everything we're doing here step by step. I'm also going to include both repos in the description below, both for the Foundry contracts as well as the Next.js app that uses Pinata and Viem if you have any questions about that. Really excited to dig into this one, so let's get to it. So the first thing you want to do is actually go ahead and install Foundry. If you haven't done that already, check out the link below in the description with a link to Foundry. It'll have all the steps to install for your particular machine. Once it is installed, you should be able to run forge -- version, and that's going to return the current version of Forge, which is the thing we're going to use to build a lot of our smart contracts and things like that. Now we can start the project by running forge init and giving it a name. I'm going to call it just my-nft. And that's going to create a repository and install some of the most basic tools you'll need to get started. We can cd into my-nft, and we just go ahead and run forge build just to make sure everything is working as it should, which it is. So we are all set. Now let's go ahead and open this in our text editor. So in our project, you're going to basically see 4 different folders that take up most of the project. One is going to be the lib folder for libraries, scripts, source, and test. Now, before we go too much further, we actually need to go ahead and install some more libraries, particularly OpenZeppelin. So we can do that by doing run forge install OpenZeppelin/OpenZeppelin-contracts. And this is going to install a library full of OpenZeppelin contracts that we'll use for ERC 721 and pretty much everything you need. It's really handy to go ahead and install these. So now we've done that, we're going to do one more thing to help with imports being easier, because right now we would have to do a full path of library, OpenZeppelin contracts, and that is usually not what they look like when you're working with them. And so we're going to do a new command. It's going to be forge remappings, and we're going to put that into a remappings.txt file. You can see here it just created a file, and it's basically just changing the path from at OpenZeppelin/contracts and redirecting it to the full path, which is lib OpenZeppelin-contracts/contracts. So reduce a little bit of extra writing that we would normally have to do when putting these contracts together. Now let's go ahead and take out some of these default files. Here we go. And we're going to make a new file under source. And we're going to call it mynft.sol. And now to get a basic contract started, we're going to head over to the contract wizard real quick. Okay, so we're in the contract wizard at wizard.openzeppelin.com. And in my opinion, this is one of the best ways to just get started with a contract, depending on what you want to build, and then just kind of tweak it and edit it from there. And so you can see there's ERC 20, ERC 721. I'm going to do ERC 721, do call my NFT, make the symbol MYNFT. Base URI I'm going to leave blank, but if you were doing a collection of like 10,000, that's something you'd want to look into. And I'm going to do mintable, auto increment, IDs, burnable, pausable, and URI storage. And that is basically all I need. And you can see here it's already using that standard method of importing the contracts, so that's good to go. Let's go ahead and copy this, and we're going to go back to our editor and paste it in. All right, so we got our contract. Let's go ahead and just paste that in. And you can see it's got everything in there. Everything looks good. We are going to make just 1 or 2 really small tweaks. So in the constructor, you typically would pass in the address, the wallet address of who's going to own the contract. Since I just want my wallet that I deployed with to be the owner, I'm just going to go ahead and change this. I'm going to delete inside these parentheses. And here I'm just going to do message.sender. And that essentially will allow anybody who creates the contract will be the owner of the contract. Really easy. And the only third thing I'm going to do here is inside this safe mint function here. Right now, it's set that only the owner can mint NFTs on the contract. So I'm going to change it up a little bit. I'm going to let anybody come up and mint from this contract. So just take out only owner and we're all set to go. Now to make sure everything's still running, you can just go ahead and run forge build again. And there we go. Everything's looking good. Now, next, I'm going to go ahead and actually write a test. So we're going to go to new file. And the way this works, you do my nft.t.sol. So it's just like your actual contract, except you're going to add t in there. And we're going to go ahead and paste in our test here. And really simply, the way this is going to work is we're going to have a new contract that is test. We're going to create some variables, have a setup to create an instance, declare who the owner is, declare a recipient, and then we're going to run a function to test minting. It's going to declare a variable for our token URI. It's going to mint to our recipient with that token URI, and we're just going to make sure that the owner of token 0 is the recipient and the token URI of token 0 is what we say it is. We can save this and run forge test. It's going to compile, and there we go. You can even run forge test dash dash vvv dash dash gas report, and that's going to give you some nice gas statistics about your contract. All right, so our contract is built, we've tested it, and now we can go ahead and deploy it. The command is going to be forge create, and then the full path for the NFT folder and file. So the source, mynft.sol, and then the name of the contract. And we're going to put in an RPC URL. I'm just going to use Sepolia. If you have a different chain or a different RPC provider, you can put that there. And then we're going to do -I for interactive when it comes to the private key. There's lots of different ways you can manage your private keys, and you probably want to do one that's very secure if you're going to be doing this a lot. So definitely look into some of the tools out there. This one's going to be pretty simple, where we just go ahead and paste it in, hit enter, and now it is working on deploying it through the RPC to base Sepolia testnet. And there we go. We have our contract, and you see it is deployed to this address. We're going to copy that and save it for later. And there's one other thing you're going to want to go ahead and grab and copy and save it for later as well. And that is in this out folder, there's going to be a folder called mynft.sol. And in there is going to be a JSON file. And this is going to be the let's go ahead and format this here. This is going to be the contract ABI. ABI stands for Application Binary Interface. And this is how other applications can interact with your contract on the blockchain. So it's very important that you have this for your app that we're about to go build. You don't usually need the entire thing in this file. We only need what's in the ABI array here, but sometimes these are just copy the whole thing. So again, go under out, name of the NFT contract, then under mynft.json, copy this and copy the address. We're going to need both of those. All right, so now we're going to go ahead and start up our app portion of this, the client that's going to interact with our smart contract and allow people to create their own NFTs. And so to do that, we're going to do a new next project. I'm just going to call it my NFT client. So it's npx create next app at latest. And I'm just going to choose all the defaults. All right, and once it's got everything installed, we're going to go into that. So my NFT client. And I'm going to go ahead and install two dependencies. That's all we need. We do npm install Viem and UUID, which you'll see why in just a little bit. There we go. So let's go ahead and open up this project in our editor as well. All right, so we're in our NFT app client, and there's a couple things we need to do before we get too far into our project. First thing is we're going to make a new file called .env.local. And in this file, we're going to put in two variables. One is going to be the contract address that we got earlier, so go ahead and be sure to paste that in there. The other is going to be the Pinata JWT. This is going to be the API key JWT that you should have made earlier. If you haven't already, definitely check the instructions in the link below. And once you have that, go ahead and put it here, save it, and we'll use it soon. We're going to make another file, and that's going to be called new-types.d.ts. And in here, we're going to do something really simple. We're going to make an interface called window. And in it, we're going to do Ethereum any. This is really only applicable if you're going to be working in TypeScript. Sometimes the type of window is undefined if you're rendering server side. And so to help relieve some of that issue, I'm going to make just a little cheat here and just say that Ethereum is always defined. Really easy. And to make sure that works, we have to go into our TypeScript config, and we're going to make a new entry called new-types.d.ts and add a comma, add it to the array, and there we go, all set. And we need to add one or two more things real quick. First is we're going to add a new folder called utils. And in that folder, we're going to add a JSON file called contract.json. And this is going to contain all of that ABI JSON that we made in our project earlier. I'm going to go ahead and copy that real quick and go ahead and paste it in here. So here's all of our JSON, has all the ABI. We need that to connect with our contract from Viem. So now that we have all that in, we can actually go to our layout.jsx. We're going to go ahead and backspace all this out. And I'm just going to go ahead and paste in the code that we have from our tutorial here. And let's go ahead and walk through it real quick and just see what's going on. So first thing is we're going to import some things from Viem, such as our create public and wallet client, and some of our transports like custom and HTTP. We're going to import our contract data from our utilities folder that we just created with our contract.json. And inside the component, we're going to have just one thing of use state, and that's going to hold our account. And it's going to set the account when somebody connects. So in our async function connect, to connect somebody to our app, we're going to create a new wallet client based on the base Sepolia chain, because that's where our contract is. And we're going to use a transport of window.ethereum. And we'll basically use that wallet client to request addresses, to request somebody to connect. And once they do approve, then we're going to set that account to our state. And then we actually have our mint NFT function, and it's actually really simple. So in the mint NFT function, we have our wallet client, we make it again, our public client again. And then with the public client, we're going to do simulate contract. It's where it basically tests to make sure that the contract is going to work before we even have somebody sign the contract. And so we're going to pass in the account, the address that we have from our environment variables, the ABI from our JSON file, the name of the function, which is safe mint, just the standard mint function, and then our arguments. And so our arguments here for that contract is going to be the user's address who's receiving the NFT. And then we're also going to have the token URI, which is our IPFS link or CID. Once we've done that simulation, we can do an actual call to write the transaction using wallet client dot write contract with the request. And if we alert that, that's going to give us a transaction hash. If you want to, you could definitely make this a little bit cleaner and nicer for whatever you want to do. And inside our UI, it's going to be really simple. All we're going to have is if you're connected, you get to see the mint button. And if you're not connected, you're going to get a connect button. Now, one thing you might have noticed, and it's kind of a problem, if we want somebody to actually mint an NFT, there's no information about the NFT. It's completely blank. And so we need a way for somebody to give us that information, put it on IPFS, and so the NFT actually has life. And so to do that, we're going to use Pinata, and we're going to do my preferred way of doing uploads, and it's almost like a signed JWT. And let me show you exactly how that works. Inside of our app folder, we're going to create a new folder called API. And inside of there, we're going to do a new folder called key. And in there, we're going to do route.ts. And inside this route, I'm going to go ahead and put some of this code I already have written out. And we're basically going to make an API route that we can call from within our app. And what this does, it allows us to keep our Pinata JWT in a secure environment. This is our admin key that has full permissions. And with it, we can use the endpoint users/generate API key to create a temporary API key. And so we basically set up the settings for that key, which is only allowing these two endpoints, pin filed to IPFS and pin JSON, and we're only allowing two uses. So after it's used twice, the key expires, it can't be used anymore. And we basically generate that key and then send it back to the client. And then we do the upload from the client side. So to handle those uploads, let's make a handy little extra file. Under utils, we're going to do a file called uploads.ts. And we're going to go ahead and just paste in these three functions. The first function is generate key. So that's going to make an API call to API/key, and it's going to return our key data. Next, we're going to have a upload file function. And this is going to take in a selected file as well as the key to use to authorize the file upload. And the rest of this is pretty standard JavaScript, TypeScript upload using Pinata. We create some new form data, append the file, give it a name, and then we send it to pin file to IPFS. And once we get that back and it's successful, we're going to return the CID for that particular file, or typically the image for this NFT. Next, we're going to have an upload JSON function. And this function is basically going to take in JSON or an object data, and as well as the key. And this is going to actually be our NFT metadata. This is going to be the token URI that is going to give it all the information it needs, like what is the name of the NFT, what's the description, what's the link to the project, what's the image. And what's nice is that we have a pinned JSON to IPFS endpoint here. And so all we have to do is create our JSON data here and then send it. And so in here, I basically take this object and get the name, description, image, external URL, and that is also going to return the IPFS hash or CID. So there's only one thing left to do, and that's actually go into our page.tsx file. Oh, I just realized I messed this up. Going back, don't put that file into layout.tsx. It's actually page.tsx. Let's fix that real quick. Still make mistakes. And so here is our updated file for page.tsx, not layout.tsx. And you can see this, a lot of this is familiar. We have all of our code from earlier, but this time we're importing our generate API key, upload file, and upload JSON. And we're going to add some new state. We're going to do state for the name of the NFT, the description, external URL, and the file to let somebody select a file from their computer. And in our mint function, we're just going to, after we create the wallet clients, we're going to create the API key with this function. Then we're going to upload the file with the selected file and the JWT from our key data. We're going to create our metadata. And so that's going to be our name, description, the image CID that we got earlier, and our external URL. And then we're going to upload JSON with that metadata and our key again, using the last one. And then we basically pass that token URI CID into here, our argument of our mint contract. Pretty easy. And then for the JSX, we just have a few extra details, such as the inputs for the name and handling the change of the names, description, external URL, and the file. And that's pretty much it. So let's go try it out. All right, so we did npm run dev. We have it up on our local host here. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my wallet. There we go. And now we can see my address is connected here. And now I can go ahead and make my NFT. I'm just going to make Penny the Pinata. We put in a website. And go ahead and choose a file. And pick this nice picture of Penny here. Go ahead and click Mint NFT. Now it's going to prompt me to mint on base Sepolia. And there's our transaction hash. And if you want to, you can actually find your NFT on OpenSea. Just go to testnets.opensea.io and paste in the contract address that you deployed. It might take a while for your NFT to show up, but once you do mint it, you can see it here. We have the name of the contract, the image, and our description, Penny the Pinata. Pretty sweet. Well, that's a wrap for our tutorial. I hope y'all enjoyed it. If you have any comments or questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below or send us an email at team@pinata.cloud. I'm always happy to talk with y'all and figure out how we can best propel you and get your app up and running using IPFS. Until next time, happy pitting.